The breaking point DR. Elena Vasquez walked through the crystal corridors of Nexus Prime, her footsteps echoing in the vast space station that served as the heart of galactic civilization. The walls around her pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, a technology developed jointly by humans and the Luminari species 5 years ago. Today, she would present humanity's final proposal to the Galactic Federation Council. After 8 years of diplomatic service, Elena knew this might be her last chance to secure equal treatment for her species. The Grand Assembly hall stretched before her like a massive amphitheater. Thousands of beings from across the galaxy filled the circular tiers, their diverse forms creating a tapestry of life that had once filled Elena with wonder. Now, she felt only determination mixed with growing disappointment. The hall's acoustic system, another human innovation, carried conversations in hundreds of languages to universal translators. Embedded in every seat, Elena took her place at the central podium, a position reserved for species making formal presentations. The human delegation sat in the lower tier, their section notably smaller than those allocated to founding members of the Federation. Admiral Chun Wei caught her eye from the gallery and nodded almost imperceptibly. Operation Exodus was ready. If diplomacy failed today, Prime Minister Zoreth of the Hegemony rose from his elevated position. His tall, crystalline form caught the light as he spoke, his voice carrying the authority of a species that had dominated galactic politics for millennia. Ambassador Vasquez, the Council acknowledges your request to address the Assembly. However, we must remind you that humanity's membership status remains provisional, as has been the case for the past 12 years. Elena kept her expression neutral, despite the insult. Provisional membership meant humans could participate in discussions, but had no voting rights on major decisions. Honorable representatives, I come before you today not to request favors, but to propose a partnership that benefits all species in the Federation. She activated the holographic display, showing detailed economic data. Human colonies have contributed 43% of the Federation's rare earth elements, 37% of its advanced medical research, and 28% of its technological innovations in the past decade. Our agricultural techniques have increased crop yields on 78 worlds. Our medical advances have saved millions of lives across 32 species. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Some representatives seemed surprised by the scope of human contributions, while others appeared dismissive. Councillor Vigthan of the Spiral Confederacy raised a tentacled appendage. Ambassador, while humans have indeed contributed to our civilization, these achievements must be viewed in context. Your species has been spacefaring for less than 2 centuries. Established members of this council have maintained galactic stability for millennia. Elena expected this response. Councillor Vigthan, I agree that experience matters. However, the Federation's own charter states that membership should be based on current contributions and peaceful intentions, not the length of time a species has been in space. We have met and exceeded every requirement for full membership. The Hegemony's Minister of Trade, a being whose name Elena could barely pronounce, stood to address the Assembly. The trade proposal humans have submitted is concerning. They request equal access to hyperspace routes, currently restricted to senior members. This could disrupt established trade patterns that have maintained galactic stability for centuries. Elena felt her patience wearing thin. Minister, these trade routes were established using human-developed navigation algorithms. Our star cartographers mapped 60% of the routes you consider restricted. We are not asking for special treatment, merely equal access to pathways we helped create. Prime Minister Zoreth's crystalline form shimmered with what Elena recognized as condescension. Ambassador, your species' eagerness to expand and claim credit for collaborative efforts demonstrates exactly why humanity remains under provisional status. You lack the wisdom that comes with age and experience. The Admiral's voice came through Elena's private communicator, barely audible. "Elena, we just received word. The Council has already voted to impose new trade sanctions on human colonies. They're planning to announce it after your presentation." Elena's heart sank, but she maintained her composure. The Federation had already decided to further restrict human activities while she was presenting evidence of their contributions. "Honorable Prime Minister, if I may ask, what specific actions would demonstrate the wisdom you believe humanity lacks?" "Perhaps another century of patience would be a good start," Zorith replied, causing ripples of what Elena assumed was laughter among several delegations. "Your species has a tendency toward aggressive expansion and resource exploitation. These traits require careful management." Elena looked around the assembly hall, seeing the faces of beings she had worked with for years. Some avoided her gaze, others watched with curiosity or barely concealed hostility. A few, particularly among the younger species, seemed sympathetic but powerless to help. "Prime Minister, I must respectfully disagree with your assessment. Humanity has followed every Federation guideline for colonial expansion. We have shared our technological advances freely, often to our own economic disadvantage. We have sent our best minds to work on collaborative projects across the galaxy. We have fought alongside Federation forces in 3 major conflicts, suffering casualties to protect worlds that are not our own." Councillor Vex of the Rigid Orthodoxy, a species known for their conservative approach to galactic affairs, interrupted. "Ambassador, no one questions human bravery or technical skills. However, your species' rapid advancement concerns many of us. In 2 centuries, you have gone from primitive chemical rockets to faster-than-light travel. Such rapid progress suggests a dangerous ambition that requires careful supervision." Elena realized the fundamental problem. The established powers of the Federation saw human progress not as an asset, but as a threat to their dominance. They wanted human contributions, but not human equality. The Admiral's intelligence was correct. This was not a debate, but a performance for the record books. "Councillor Vex, I understand your concerns about rapid advancement. However, I would argue that human progress has benefited every species in the Federation. Our medical research has extended lifespans across dozens of worlds. Our agricultural techniques have ended famines on colony worlds. Our defensive technologies have protected Federation borders from external threats." Prime Minister Zorith stood again, his form now pulsing with authority. "Ambassador Vasquez, the Council appreciates humanity's contributions. However, we have decided that additional restrictions on human activities are necessary to maintain galactic stability. Effective immediately, human colonies will face new trade limitations, and human representation in joint research projects will be reduced by 30%. Elena felt the weight of failure settling on her shoulders. 8 years of careful diplomacy, countless hours of negotiation, and endless patience had led to this moment. The Federation was not just maintaining the status quo, they were actively reducing human participation in galactic affairs. "Prime Minister, these restrictions will harm not just humanity, but the entire Federation. Our colonies produce essential resources that many worlds depend on. Our researchers are leading projects that could revolutionize medicine, agriculture, and energy production. Limiting human participation will slow progress for everyone. Perhaps slower progress is what the galaxy needs," Zorith replied. "Stability has served us well for millennia. Your species' rush toward innovation and expansion threatens that stability." Elena looked at the Admiral, who was now coordinating with other human representatives throughout the galaxy. Operation Exodus had been planned for months as a contingency, but Elena had hoped it would never be necessary. She had believed in the Federation's stated principles of cooperation and mutual benefit. "Honorable representatives, I want to be clear about something. Humanity has spent 12 years trying to find our place in the galactic community. We have compromised our own interests repeatedly in the hope of earning acceptance. We have shared our knowledge freely, fought your battles, and contributed to your economies. In return, we have received condescension, restrictions, and now additional punitive measures. The hall grew quiet. Elena's voice carried a tone that many representatives had never heard from the usually diplomatic human ambassador. We have asked for respect and received tolerance. We have offered partnership and been given supervision. We have demonstrated our value and been told we are dangerous. Today, you have made it clear that no amount of contribution or patience will earn humanity equal standing in this federation. Elena closed her presentation display and gathered her materials. I want to thank those representatives who have shown genuine friendship to humanity over the years. Your support has meant more than you know. To the Council leadership, I have one final message. You have spent 12 years teaching humanity that we are not welcome as equals in this galaxy. We have learned that lesson well. She turned to leave the podium, then paused. The Federation was built on the principle that diverse species working together can achieve more than any single world or empire. Today, you have chosen to abandon that principle. History will judge whether that choice serves the galaxy well. As Elena walked from the assembly hall, representatives began discussing the implications of her words. Some dismissed her statement as empty rhetoric from a disappointed diplomat. Others sensed something more significant in her tone and demeanor. Admiral Chen Wei was waiting in the corridor outside the assembly hall. His expression told Elena everything she needed to know about the preliminary vote on trade sanctions. Elena, Operation Exodus is green across all sectors. Transport ships are already moving to secondary positions. We can begin full implementation within hours. Elena nodded, feeling a mixture of sadness and relief. Admiral, initiate the operation. It's time for humanity to find its own path among the stars. Across the galaxy, human colonies, research stations, and diplomatic posts received coded messages. The carefully planned withdrawal began immediately. Essential personnel started evacuation procedures while maintaining normal operations to avoid suspicion. Human researchers quietly copied their personal files and began deleting collaborative databases. Trade ships altered their routes to avoid Federation space. The Federation Council continued its debate about human restrictions, unaware that their subjects were already voting with their feet. In the months that followed, the galaxy would learn what it meant to lose a species that had become integral to its functioning. Species that had been taken for granted until it was gone. The reckoning 18 months after the infamous assembly session. Prime Minister Zorth stood in his private chamber aboard Nexus Prime, staring at reports that defied belief. The crystalline walls that had once pulsed with beautiful patterns now flickered erratically, their bioluminescent systems failing without proper maintenance. The technology that had impressed Elena Vasquez during her final visit was dying, and no one seemed to know how to fix it. Minister Collar, explain these medical statistics to me again, Zorth demanded, his voice carrying none of its former authority. His aide, a nervous being from the Spiral Confederacy, scrolled through data on his handheld device. Sir, the mortality rate across Federation worlds has increased by 23% in the past year. The Zelani plague, which was contained for decades using human-developed protocols, has resurged on 12 worlds. The Rigelian fever has spread to systems that were previously immune. Most concerning, we are seeing diseases that we thought were eradicated returning to populations that have no natural immunity. Zorith's form dimmed with what his species expressed as deep concern. What happened to the medical protocols? We have the research data from human scientists. Sir, having the data and understanding it are different things. Human medical researchers apparently developed treatments that required constant adaptation and refinement. Without their ongoing input, many treatments have become ineffective as diseases mutated. Dr. Keth's medical team has been trying to reverse engineer human techniques, but they estimate it will take decades to match human capabilities. In the Outer Rim territories, Admiral Vex commanded what remained of the Federation's patrol fleet. His forces had once maintained order across hundreds of star systems, but now they were retreating from sector after sector. Pirate fleets, which had been minor nuisances during the human era, now controlled major shipping lanes. "Status report, Commander," Vex ordered as he entered the bridge of his flagship. The ship's systems hummed with less efficiency than before, and several displays showed warning indicators that had become permanent fixtures. "Sir, we have lost contact with the Kepler Station garrison. Long-range sensors suggest they were overwhelmed by a pirate fleet using tactics we cannot counter. The vegan defensive perimeter has also gone dark. We estimate that lawless elements now control approximately 40% of the Outer Rim." Vex studied the tactical display, noting the red zones that indicated areas beyond Federation control. How are pirates achieving these victories? "Our military doctrine has served us well for centuries. Sir, intelligence suggests that some humans joined pirate organizations before the main exodus. They are apparently teaching criminal fleets advanced tactical concepts and weapon modifications. Our traditional strategies are ineffective against these new approaches." The commander hesitated before continuing. "Sir, there is something else. The quantum communication network that connects our fleet has been degrading. We are losing contact with patrol groups for hours at a time. Our engineers say the network was built using human-designed protocols that they do not fully understand." Dr. Keth, the Federation's chief scientific administrator, faced similar challenges in her research facilities. The massive laboratories that had once produced breakthrough discoveries now struggled with basic maintenance. Equipment failures were becoming routine, and scientific progress had slowed to a crawl. "Status of the energy research project?" she asked her assistant, a young researcher from the luminary species. "Dr. Keth, we have suspended the project. The fusion reactors that humans designed for us require constant calibration that we cannot perform. 3 of our test facilities have experienced containment failures. We do not dare continue without proper expertise." Dr. Keth reviewed the list of suspended projects on her display. Faster-than-light communication research, advanced medical treatments, agricultural improvements, defensive technologies all had depended on human participation to a degree that no one had fully appreciated. What about the archived human research data? Can we not learn from their documented procedures? "Doctor, the humans were apparently very careful about their documentation. Their research papers contain detailed descriptions of results, but lack the specific technical knowledge needed to replicate their work. It appears they shared their discoveries, but not their methods." On the agricultural world of Demeter 7, once a showcase of Federation prosperity, crops were failing at an alarming rate. The planet's administrator, Governor Yenth, walked through. Fields that should have been green with growing plants, but were instead brown with disease and malnutrition. "Chief agronomist, what is the current projection for this season's harvest?" Yenth asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Governor, we will lose approximately 60% of our crops. The soil enhancement techniques that humans developed require constant adjustment based on environmental conditions. Without their guidance, our yields have dropped to pre-human levels. The fertilizer compounds they created are also running out, and we cannot synthesize new supplies." Yenth looked across the failing fields that had once fed dozens of worlds. "How long before we face food shortages?" "Sir, some outer colonies are already experiencing shortages. The core worlds have reserves, but if current trends continue, we will face widespread hunger within 2 years." Back on Nexus Prime, the Federation Council convened an emergency session. The Grand Assembly Hall that had once hosted Elena Vasquez now showed signs of neglect. Several lighting systems had failed, and the acoustic enhancement that had carried voices clearly throughout the chamber worked intermittently. Prime Minister Zorith addressed the reduced assembly. Many representatives had stopped attending as their own worlds faced crisis. Honorable colleagues, we face unprecedented challenges across multiple sectors. Medical, military, agricultural, and industrial systems are failing throughout Federation space. Councillor Vecthin, whose own homeworld was dealing with a resurgent plague, spoke with obvious frustration. Prime Minister, we must locate human colonies and negotiate their return. Our civilization is collapsing without their expertise. Councillor, we have deployed our best scouts to search for human settlements. Captain Nexer has been leading exploration missions for over a year. He has found abandoned human colonies, but no trace of where they went. Minister Kaller provided the latest intelligence report. Sir, our analysis suggests that humans planned their departure for years. They systematically removed all equipment, research materials, and personnel from their colonies. They left behind only empty buildings and basic infrastructure. It appears they relocated to regions beyond our current star charts. The realization that humans had vanished completely was devastating to Federation leadership. They had assumed that economic pressure and diplomatic isolation would force humanity to accept their subordinate position. Instead, humans had chosen to leave the galaxy entirely rather than continue living under Federation restrictions. Dr. Kef addressed the Assembly via communication link from her research station. Prime Minister, I must inform the Council that our attempts to reverse engineer human technology have largely failed. Their innovations were apparently far more advanced than we realized. We understood how to use their devices, but not how to build or maintain them. Dr. Keth, surely a civilization as advanced as ours can eventually master these technologies? Sir, human innovation was built on scientific principles that we are only beginning to understand. Their approach to problem solving was fundamentally different from ours. They combined disciplines in ways that we never considered. Matching their capabilities could take generations, assuming we can do so at all. The assembled representatives sat in stunned silence. The species they had dismissed, as young and inexperienced, had been decades ahead of them in key technological areas. The Federation had been dependent on human innovation without realizing it. Governor Yenth reported from Demeter 7. Council members, agricultural production across the Federation has declined by 40%. Food distribution systems, which relied on human logistics algorithms, are failing. We face the possibility of widespread famine within 18 months. Admiral Vex provided the military situation. Military operations have been suspended in 70% of our territory. Pirate fleets control major shipping lanes. Our defensive capabilities have been compromised by the loss of human technical support. The Federation military is effectively collapsing. Prime Minister Zorith felt the weight of his civilization's mistake settling on his shoulders. The Federation had not just lost a valuable member species, they had lost the foundation of their modern civilization. Human contributions had been so seamlessly integrated into galactic society that their absence was destroying everything they had built together. Councillor Vecthin, what is the status of our search for human colonies? Sir, Captain Nexer's expedition has found evidence of human presence in the Kepler sector, but the colonies were abandoned years ago. Long-range sensors detect no human activity within our exploration range. It appears they have moved beyond the boundaries of known space. The implications were staggering. Humans had not just left Federation space, they had apparently developed a capability to travel to regions that other species could not reach. The species that the Federation had tried to contain and control had surpassed them in exploration as well as technology. What are options? Zorith asked, though he feared. The answer: Sir, our economists estimate that Federation civilization will collapse within 5 years without major technological breakthroughs. Our military cannot maintain order. Our medical system cannot treat basic diseases. Our agricultural system cannot feed our populations. Our industrial capacity is declining rapidly. The council chamber fell silent as the magnitude of their situation became clear. They had spent decades maintaining their position as the dominant powers in the galaxy, viewing humans as useful but subordinate partners. Now they understood that humans had been the real driving force behind galactic prosperity. Councillor Vecthin spoke quietly. Prime Minister, we must consider the possibility that humans will not return even if we find them. Ambassador Vasquez warned us that we were teaching them they were not welcome. If they have built a new civilization beyond our reach, why would they choose to return to Federation space? Zorith's crystalline form had lost much of its brilliance, reflecting his species' expression of defeat. Counselor, we must hope that humans will show mercy to those who showed them none, because without their return, the Federation will not survive. In the depths of space, far beyond the reach of Federation scouts, human colonies thrived in star systems that had been dismissed as uninhabitable by galactic surveys. Advanced terraforming techniques had turned barren worlds into gardens. New technologies developed without the constraints of Federation politics had pushed human civilization forward at an unprecedented rate. Elena Vasquez, now serving as the first Prime Minister of the independent human territories, stood in the observation deck of New Geneva Station. The stars beyond the viewport were unfamiliar to Federation astronomers, but they had become home to humanity's greatest achievement, a civilization built on the principles of cooperation and mutual respect that the Federation had abandoned. Message that had just arrived from Federation space was the 15th desperate plea for contact that human intelligence had intercepted. Each message was more urgent than the last, describing a galactic civilization in collapse and begging for human assistance. Elena had not responded to any of them, and she would not respond to this one either. The Federation had taught humanity a valuable lesson about the importance of self-reliance and the dangers of depending on those who saw them as inferior. Now, in the silence of space, humanity continued its journey among the stars, leaving behind those who had chosen to remain in the past. The galaxy would eventually recover from the loss of human knowledge and innovation, but it would take centuries and cost countless lives. The Federation's mistake had been assuming that they could take human contributions for granted while denying humans the respect and equality they had earned in the end. Humanity's greatest victory had not been achieved through conflict or conquest, but through the simple act of walking away from those who could not appreciate their worth. The silence of their departure spoke louder than any words of anger or threats of retaliation ever could. The Federation had begged for humanity's return, but humanity had moved beyond the need for their acceptance. Among the distant stars, a new chapter in human history was being written, one where respect was earned through contribution rather than demanded through politics, and where the future belonged to those bold enough to seek it. Asterisk.